Lovely viewers, today's story is one of those that has stirred up a whirlwind of emotions, debates, and conversations across the internet, because it involves three of Korea's biggest names and an incident that fans simply cannot stop talking about. We are diving into the drama surrounding Lee Min-ho's refusal to attend an event after discovering that Song Joong-ki had also been invited. This is not just about an event, it's about history, emotions, choices, and the complicated intersections of love, friendship, and past relationships. So grab a cup of tea, sit back comfortably, and let's walk through this together, because this is a long story that deserves to be told with all the intensity, warmth, and interaction you love from this channel. Imagine the scene, lovely viewers. A grand event is being prepared, the kind that brings together Korea's brightest stars, international guests, and industry icons. The guest list is glittering with names that fans around the globe adore. Naturally, both Lee Min-ho and Song Joong-ki are high on that list. These are not just actors. They are cultural icons whose presence elevates any gathering. But when Minho received the official invitation and discovered that Song Joong-ki was also on the list, something inside him shifted. People close to the planning said he was polite but firm. He would not attend if Song Joong-ki was going to be there. And just like that, a ripple of tension spread through the industry, sending fans into a frenzy of speculation. Lovely friends, you can almost feel the weight of that decision. Why would Minho refuse? Was it pride? Was it discomfort? Or was it something deeper? Something connected to the complicated history involving Song Hye-kyo, the woman who has been at the center of both their lives at different points in time. Fans immediately began connecting the dots. After all, this isn't just about professional rivalry. This is about personal wounds, emotional scars, and the kind of silent tension that builds up between people who have walked through overlapping chapters of love and heartbreak. Now let's place ourselves in Minho's shoes for a moment. Imagine being invited to a massive event where you know the cameras will be everywhere. The public will be scrutinizing every gesture, every glance, every interaction. And imagine that one of the people you might have to stand near, smile at, or even exchange words with, is someone tied so closely to your own love story. Wouldn't you hesitate? Wouldn't you wonder if your presence might turn into gossip fodder, overshadowing the purpose of the event itself? That, dear friends, seems to be exactly what Minho was thinking. His decision to refuse the invitation wasn't just a matter of pride. It was a matter of protecting himself, protecting his relationship, and avoiding unnecessary drama. But of course, the public had their own reactions. Some fans applauded Minho, saying his decision showed maturity and self-respect. "Why put yourself in an awkward position?" one fan commented. "He knows his boundaries and he's standing by them." Others, however, felt differently. "As a professional, he should rise above personal issues," another comment read. "Events like these are bigger than individuals." And so the debate began, with fans across the world arguing passionately about whether Minho's choice was right or wrong. Lovely viewers, what do you think? If you were in his position, would you attend and risk the awkwardness, or refuse and protect your peace? What makes this story so much more intriguing is the unspoken history between Song Hye-kyo, Song Joong-ki, and Lee Min-ho. We all know that Song Joong-ki and Song Hye-kyo were once married, a love story that captivated the world before it tragically ended in divorce. And now, as rumors and whispers of Hye-kyo's blossoming connection with Minho continue to swirl, the idea of Minho and Joong-ki standing in the same room feels almost unbearably tense. Fans can't help but imagine what that scene would look like. The two men exchanging polite nods, perhaps avoiding eye contact, while cameras flash relentlessly. Wouldn't that overshadow everything else happening at the event? And maybe, just maybe, that's what Minho wanted to avoid. Lovely viewers, picture this. The organizers, upon hearing Minho's refusal, must have scrambled. His absence would leave a noticeable void. After all, Minho isn't just another star. He's the kind of figure whose presence guarantees headlines, whose name on a guest list raises the prestige of any event. Can you imagine the hushed phone calls, the behind-the-scenes negotiations, the whispers of "what do we do now?" It's almost like a scene out of a drama itself. Some reports even suggest that organizers considered adjusting the seating arrangements or schedules to accommodate both stars, but Minho stood firm. For him, the issue wasn't about logistics, it was about principle. Now let's step into Song Joong-ki's perspective for a moment. We don't know how much of this news reached him, but imagine if it did. How would you feel knowing that someone as prominent as Minho refused to attend because of your presence? Would you feel guilty, or would you feel frustrated, thinking, "Why is my existence such a problem?" Or perhaps Joong-ki, with his composed demeanor, simply shrugged it off, focusing instead on his own career and his own life. Still, the optics of this are unavoidable, and the public can't resist speculating about how he must have felt when he learned of Minho's decision. Lovely friends, this situation also brings us to a larger conversation about professionalism and personal boundaries. Some argue that celebrities, especially at the level of Minho and Joong, should be able to set aside personal feelings for the sake of their careers. Others, however, believe that mental and emotional well-being should always come first, even if it means disappointing organizers or fans. Which side do you fall on? Would you expect a star to endure discomfort for appearances, or would you applaud them for protecting their peace? This is one of those debates where there truly is no simple answer, and that's why it's so captivating. The online reactions, as always, have been a mixture of humor, passion, and empathy. Fans have created memes imagining Minho dramatically walking away from the invitation. Others have edited fan videos placing him in scenes where he refuses to share the stage with Joong, complete with dramatic background music. But beneath the humor, there's real emotion here. Fans care deeply about these stars, and their choices feel personal to those who have followed their journeys for years. Lovely viewers, another angle we cannot ignore is how this incident impacts Song Hye-kyo. Though she has not spoken publicly, her name is inevitably tied to this situation. Fans speculate endlessly. Did Minho make this decision out of love for her, to protect her from renewed gossip and painful reminders? Or was it purely his own personal boundary? Some believe this act in itself is a kind of silent declaration of love, a way of saying, "I will not put us in a situation that could hurt you." And isn't that, in its own way, romantic? The idea that he would sacrifice a major event, a chance to shine, simply to avoid stirring up old wounds. It paints him as a man prioritizing love over fame. The media, of course, has not let this go quietly. Headlines are blazing with speculation, dissecting every possible reason behind his refusal. Analysts debate whether this could affect his reputation in the industry or whether it will ultimately strengthen it. After all, audiences love stars who stand by their principles. Some insiders even whisper that this decision has only endeared Minho more to his fans, who admire his courage to walk away from situations that don't serve his peace. Lovely friends, let's also think about what might happen moving forward. Will Minho and Joong eventually find themselves in the same space again? It's almost inevitable, given the nature of their careers. When that day comes, how will they handle it? Will they stand apart, quietly enduring the tension? Or will they surprise us all with a show of maturity and shake hands in public, putting an end to the whispers once and for all? Fans are already imagining future scenarios, and some even dream of the two starring in the same event or drama someday. A thought that feels impossible now but could one day symbolize healing. But for now, the decision stands. Minho refused. And that refusal has spoken louder than words. It tells us that even in the glamorous, glittering world of celebrities, they are still human beings navigating emotions, history, and complicated relationships. It reminds us that behind the polished smiles and perfect outfits, there are hearts that hurt, minds that overthink, and souls that crave peace just like ours. Lovely viewers, as you reflect on this story, think about your own life. Have you ever avoided a gathering because someone was there who made you uncomfortable? Have you ever chosen peace over appearances? If so, you know exactly what Minho might have felt. And maybe that's why this story resonates so deeply, because it mirrors our own struggles in a world that constantly asks us to smile through discomfort. So here we are, at the heart of a story that is bigger than an event. It's about choices, boundaries, and the complexities of love and history. Whether you see Minho's refusal as wise or dramatic, there's no denying that it has sparked a conversation we all needed to have. And as we wait to see what unfolds next, whether he and Joong will ever cross paths publicly, whether Hye-kyo will play a role in softening the tension, or whether this distance will simply become the norm, we remain captivated, invested, and ready to witness the next chapter. Lovely friends, how do you feel about Minho's refusal? Do you see it as a sign of love, of respect for his own emotions, or do you think he should have attended regardless? Share your thoughts, because this story isn't just about them. It's about us, about how we all navigate the tricky balance between our hearts and our responsibilities. And as always, thank you for being here, for feeling these stories with me, and for being part of this community where every emotion matters. We were just talking about the subtle but powerful ripple effects of Lee Minho's decision not to attend the event because Song Joong was invited. And while it may seem like a single action, in truth, it has sparked an ongoing storm that touches not only their lives but the way fans, the media, and the industry itself view both men moving forward. As the dust settled from the initial shock of his absence, the event itself unfolded in a strangely hollow way. Sure, the cameras flashed, the celebrities walked the red carpet, and the evening delivered on its promises of glamour. But many attendees whispered that there was a noticeable emptiness in the air. Fans who had lined up for hours, even days, were holding banners and flowers with Lee Min-ho's name on them, only to find out he would not be arriving. Their faces carried both disappointment and curiosity. Some expressed frustration, saying they had come only for him, while others admitted they understood, that perhaps in his shoes they might have done the same. Meanwhile, inside the venue, Song Joong-ki carried himself with calm composure, smiling at cameras, greeting fellow stars, and taking his seat as though nothing unusual had happened. But keen-eyed observers noticed the slight stiffness in his posture, the carefully measured way he engaged with conversations. It was as if he knew that the elephant in the room was not the awards or the performances, but the unspoken tension of two giants of the industry being unable to share the same space. Lovely friends, doesn't it make you wonder whether he too felt the sting of Minho's absence? After all, silence can sometimes echo louder than words. As the night wore on, journalists and insiders began to spin their interpretations. Some claimed that Minho's refusal to attend was a sign of unresolved issues, deep scars that have not healed and perhaps never will. Others suggested it was less about hostility and more about self-preservation. Maybe Minho knew that the cameras would fixate on any interaction between him and Joong-ki, creating headlines that overshadowed everything else. If that was the case, then perhaps staying away was not a rejection but a choice to protect his own peace, as well as the integrity of the event. But lovely viewers, the internet was far less forgiving. Social media exploded with debates. On one side, fans defended Lee Min-ho passionately, praising him for taking a stand and refusing to play into narratives that could exploit his emotions. On the other side, supporters of Song Joong-ki argued that his presence was just as valid, and that Minho's absence seemed like an unnecessary escalation. And somewhere in between were the neutral voices, the ones who loved both men and simply wished they could coexist, if not as friends, then at least as professionals who respect each other's space. Here's where things get even more interesting. Rumors began to circulate that the organizers of the event were caught completely off guard by Minho's decision. Some insiders whispered that he had confirmed his attendance weeks earlier, even preparing a speech for the audience, but backed out only after learning of Joong-ki's confirmed invitation. If that's true, then his refusal wasn't just an impulsive reaction. It was a deliberate statement. And what a powerful statement it was, because it left everyone guessing. Was this about rivalry, about past wounds, or about protecting someone else? Perhaps Song Hye-kyo, whose name inevitably surfaces whenever these two men are mentioned in the same breath. Lovely friends, can you imagine the conversations that must have taken place behind the scenes? Maybe Minho's management team tried to persuade him, reminding him of the fans who were waiting. Perhaps his close friends urged him to rise above it, to appear at the event and show the world that he could handle the tension with grace. But Minho, known for his quiet stubbornness when it comes to matters of principle, might have simply shaken his head and said, "Not this time." That firmness, that refusal to compromise on his feelings, adds another layer of fascination to his character. And yet, there's another angle to consider. What if, deep down, this was not about anger at all but about vulnerability? Maybe Minho feared that seeing Joong-ki, sharing the same space with him, would reopen wounds he thought had healed. Maybe he worried about how his emotions might betray him in the public eye. After all, lovely viewers, haven't we all avoided certain gatherings, not because we hated someone, but because we knew we weren't ready to face them yet? In that sense, Minho's decision becomes not one of pride, but of raw honesty with himself. Meanwhile, fans of Song Joong-ki noticed how he carried on with the evening, taking pictures, shaking hands and smiling warmly. But some couldn't help but notice a fleeting shadow in his eyes when questions about Minho arose. A reporter boldly asked, "What do you think about Lee Minho not attending tonight?" And Joong-ki, ever the professional, gave a diplomatic answer, something along the lines of wishing everyone well and focusing on the purpose of the event. But no matter how composed his words were, fans could sense the weight behind them. After all, he too must have felt the absence. Lovely friends, this situation leaves us with so many questions. Is this a feud that will simmer quietly for years? Or is it a wound that time and healing might eventually close? Will there come a day when both men stand side by side again, not as rivals but as individuals who have accepted the past? And perhaps most importantly, where does this leave the fans, those who love them both and who long for peace, not division? What makes this story so compelling is that it's not just about two celebrities. It's about human emotions that we all recognize. Pride, pain, vulnerability, and the difficult choices we make when those emotions collide with public expectations. Lee Min-ho refusing to attend the event isn't just a headline. It's a mirror reflecting the complexities of our own hearts. And lovely viewers, as we journey further into this story together, let's remember that while the world may see drama, perhaps what we're truly witnessing is two men navigating their humanity under the harshest of spotlights. It's easy to take sides, but it's even more powerful to pause, to reflect, and to ask ourselves, what would I have done in his shoes? Lovely viewers, let us dive right back in from where we stopped, because the story doesn't end with that absence. It actually begins to open new doors of speculation, emotion, and ripple effects that reach further than anyone could have expected. We were asking ourselves what we would have done in Lee Min-ho's shoes. And from there, the imagination of fans, insiders, and even the press began to spin into overdrive. The first name that, of course, surfaced after Minho's refusal was none other than Song Hye-kyo. Lovely friends, you know how it goes. Whenever Minho and Joong-ki's worlds collide, Hye-kyo's name naturally slips into the conversation. For fans, the question was obvious. Did Minho stay away because he wanted to shield her from renewed media speculation? Was it a way of protecting her from the endless comparisons and rumors that swirl whenever her past with Joong-ki is mentioned alongside her present with Minho? That thought alone set the internet on fire. Some fans argued passionately that this was the ultimate act of love, a man refusing the spotlight if it meant his woman's peace could be preserved. Others thought it might signal unresolved tensions that were too raw to be faced just yet. Behind closed doors, one can only imagine how Hye-kyo herself reacted. Did she place a comforting hand on Minho's shoulder and whisper, "You did the right thing"? Or did she sigh, wishing he had attended and showed the world he could rise above it all? Lovely viewers, isn't that the tug-of-war we all face in relationships? Supporting our loved ones while also wishing they could sometimes take a different path. That inner conflict makes this story all the more relatable, because it isn't just about celebrities. It's about the delicate dance of love, pride, and vulnerability that we all navigate. Now think about the industry side of things. Organizers who had poured resources into the event found themselves scrambling to explain Minho's absence. Some whispered that invitations will now be handled differently in the future, ensuring that these two titans of the screen never end up on the same guest list again. Others worried that this tension could split audiences, with fans choosing sides more sharply than ever before. Yet, there were also voices in the industry who admired Minho's honesty, even if it came at a cost. One insider was quoted as saying, "In an industry full of appearances, it takes courage to walk away from the cameras when your heart isn't aligned with the moment." And then, lovely friends, came the fans' reactions in real time. Social media lit up with hashtags. Hashtag stand with Minho, hashtag respect Joong-ki, hashtag protect Hye-kyo. Each corner of the internet became a battleground of opinions, with threads stretching into thousands of comments. One fan wrote, "This isn't about rivalry, it's about healing. Let's not make it uglier than it is." Another responded, "But if Minho keeps avoiding him, it proves there's still a war under the surface." The debate went on and on, not just in Korea but globally, as international fans chimed in, each bringing their own cultural lens to the drama. Meanwhile, in the quieter corners of the conversation, some fans wondered about the emotional aftermath for Minho himself. Did he spend the evening at home with Hye-kyo, seeking comfort in her presence? Did he feel relief that he had avoided a situation that could spiral? Or did he wrestle with guilt over disappointing fans who had waited to see him? These questions linger in the air, unanswered but deeply human. Because beyond the glitter of fame, isn't he just like anyone else, torn between personal boundaries and public expectations? On the other side, Song Joong-ki's composure at the event didn't erase the whispers. while he carried on with professional grace. There's no denying that the shadow of Minho's absence hung over him. Imagine being asked again and again about someone who refused to stand beside you. No matter how strong you are, that must sting. And yet, Joong's fans applauded his dignity, pointing out that he didn't lash out, didn't throw shade, didn't let the cameras capture a single unguarded moment of bitterness. That, too, is its own kind of strength. Lovely friends, as we look at the aftermath, what makes this so fascinating is how much of it lives in the silences, in the things unsaid, in the absences that speak louder than presence, in the embraces behind closed doors that we can only imagine. It's the kind of story that proves you don't always need a clash of words to create a storm. Sometimes, simply refusing to show up is enough to set the whole world talking. And so, the question that hangs heavy in the air is this: where do we go from here? Will this become a long-standing pattern, with Minho continuing to withdraw from shared spaces with Joong? Or will there one day be a moment of unexpected unity, a surprise photograph that shocks the world and silences all the speculation? For now, lovely viewers, the uncertainty itself is what keeps this story alive. But one thing is clear: in this chapter of the saga, Lee Minho's refusal was more than just an absence. It was a decision that spoke volumes, a choice that revealed the depths of emotion still swirling beneath the surface.